how to make this fire-breathing dragon? Stick around after the magic smoke and I'll show you how. The heart of our forge is going to be this Harbor Freight 5-gallon air tank. You also see a complete bill of materials that I've linked to in the description, and I'll discuss each item in this list as we get to it in the build. Alright, here's what I use for my forge build. 4-inch angle grinder, grinding blade, wire wheel, cut-off wheel, saw with a metal cutting blade, handheld drill, various size drill bits, half round file, Phillips head screwdriver, pair of scissors, and a Sharpie. If you want to repaint your forge, the first thing you're going to want to do is put your wire disc on the angle grinder and strip the yellow paint off the tank. I don't think this is necessary, but I thought high temperature black paint would be a lot easier to touch up down the road. Next, you want to put a cut-off disc on your grinder and cut off the end cap of the tank. Carefully cut straight and even just forward of the weld line all the way around the cap. Make 4 short Sharpie lines evenly spaced perpendicular along the cut so that you'll know how the cap lines back up to the tank once it's been cut off. When you have the cap cut off, find a round object like a coffee can that is 5.5 inches in diameter and use this as a template to mark your forge opening. On the interior of this circle, drill a 3/8 inch hole just on the edge of your line so that you can start a cut with your jigsaw. Then make a series of consecutive 1/4 inch holes around the inside perimeter of the circle as shown here. Then you can take the jigsaw and cut from hole to hole as shown. Once the center section has been cut out entirely, you can use your file to smooth out the rough edges. Now we want to make 4 clips to mount our forge front to the tank using our 1-inch flat bar. Cut these 1 7/8 inches long and drill a number 29 size hole on both ends as shown. This size bit will give you a clearance fit on a number 6 machine screw. You won't find these numbered size bits at the local hardware store, but industrial supply houses should have them, or you can get them online. You need to grind down the weld where you decide to locate the clips so that they'll lay flat. You can hold the end cap in place and mark and drill through the holes in the clips to make the corresponding holes in your cap and cylinder for the clips to attach. The next step is to locate and make an opening for the 1.5 inch pipe nozzle. I don't have an exact formula for making this opening. If you have a friend that's a pipe fitter welder, it might be time to get a 6-pack and give him a visit. I made mine by starting with a round hole and slowly opening it up to an oval shape. As you can see with the diagram, the nozzle needs to intersect the cylinder at a tangent to the insulation on top, and it should face forward at a 20-degree angle. I use this same method of drilling holes and using the jigsaw to cut between each of the holes. You need to keep this opening close to the size of the pipe so the welder can fill this gap. Here you see the nozzle fitted up and ready to be welded. Be sure to have the metal around the pipe and cylinder where they meet clean and down to a shiny metal so that you get a good weld. Once you have all the metal work done, it's time to insulate the interior of the forge. Here you see me cutting out 2 round discs for both ends of the forge. I used the cut-off end cap as a pattern for this circle. Fit a disc into the closed end of the forge first. Then measure the length of your cylinder and cut a piece of insulation this width, with the length being that required to cover the entire cylinder. This should be 3.14 times the diameter of the cylinder. Put this piece in place and put the other insulation disc in the front cap of the forge and mark the diameter of the opening and cut this out as well. Now you can finish attaching the cap to the front of the forge using your clips, screws, and nuts. Here you see the forge completely insulated, ready to have the refractory mortar applied. Also, you see where I have drilled and tapped 1/4 20-inch threads into the nozzle in 8 different places. These screws and nuts hold the 1-inch burner tube in place. Before I went any further, I masked off the main opening as well as the 3/4 inch nozzle that originally held the pressure gauge. We're going to use this nozzle for our thermal well. The forge is now ready to be painted with our flat black Rust-Oleum heat-resistant barbecue paint. At this stage, you want to embed your fire bricks into the bottom of the forge as a floor. You then mix up your Satanite powder with water until you have a peanut butter consistency, and with a brush apply it in multiple coats until you have built it up to about a 3/8 inch thickness. You will want to let each coat dry completely before applying another. I used a cheap Harbor Freight heat gun to speed up this process. After you have the forge burner mounted and operational, you can run it for a bit to completely cure the mortar. When this has been completed, you'll want to apply a thin coat of ITC 100 as a final forge coating. Here you see we have placed the forge on a Harbor Freight rolling metal cart. The forced air burner from high temperature tools has been installed and anchored to the cart with a U-bolt. To finish off the burner, you'll need to install a 2-inch by 3-inch nipple with a 125-pound cast iron floor flange so that you can mount your blower. In my case, I used a Dayton Model 2C647A attached to the flange with screws and taped to seal around the flanges with aluminum tape. You see I've installed a rheostat to control the blower motor, but it's not needed. You can leave the blower wide open and control the airflow with the gate valve. Here you see the forge up on the cart. Hidden behind the handle is a thermal well inserted into the 3/4 inch nozzle that came with the tank. A hose clamp placed around the well controls how deep into the forge it can go. Mine's about 2 inches off the floor. Here's a view of the completed forge. Notice the high temp tools regulator and hose have been installed and connected to a 20-pound propane tank. Also, a couple of cinder blocks have been put in the bottom of the cart as ballast. The thermocouple is slid into the well and wired to the PID per the manufacturer's instructions. Here you see the PID temporarily installed in the forge up to 2,000 degrees. Here we have a walk around of the forge just before we fire it up to cure the refractory mortar. Please take a second and subscribe. It would really help us out. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments section and I'll do my best to answer them. Thanks very much for watching.